Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ganesham Chavan. Welcome in the session of Human Anatomy and Physiology 2. Here we are discussing unit number 1. In that we are continuing central nervous system. In central nervous system, this is the second part of brain which is called diencephalon. Actually, diencephalon is the middle portion of the brain which is superior to the midbrain, and it is embedded or surrounded by both the cerebral hemisphere, right and left. It is having several projections from brainstem, spinal cord, which carries towards the cerebral cortex into the cerebrum. This diencephalon is having three parts: thalamus, hypothalamus and epithalamus. This thalamus is having several nuclei. It is having almost dozens of nuclei, and it is the relay station between the upper brain and the lower brain through the various nuclei, through the various tracts. Hypothalamus can transfer or projects into the hypophysis. Hypophysis is nothing but the pituitary gland. Hypophysis is having two types: neurohypophysis and adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis means anterior pituitary gland, and the neurohypophysis means posterior pituitary gland, which they transfer the various impulses through this hypothalamus and toward the hypophysis. This is the center where it connects the cerebrum, the hypothalamus and the spinal cord, which carries the impulses. They projects from one part to the another part. Thalamus. Now we will discuss regarding thalamus. What is thalamus? So thalamus is having almost a dozens of nuclei. It is having 13 nuclei, and it is having the shape of 3 centimeter, and it is having gray matter. It is embedded in gray matter, oval shaped. It is a pair of oval shaped thalamus, and that oval shaped thalamus is connected by the intermediate mass. That intermediate mass is the bridge of gray matter which connects right and left halves of thalamus. And this thalamus is also having a tract which is made up of white matter, and its name is internal laminar tract. That internal medullary lamina, it is the tract of white matter which contains the myelinated neurons and which separates the right and left gray matter into the thalamus, and it is also continuing towards the cerebral cortex, which pass through the internal capsule. It is the thick bunch of neurons, and it is at the lateral to the thalamus. This thalamus is also having major stations for most sensory impulses that reach primary sensory area of cerebral cortex, which is taking various sensory information which carries through this thalamus. Means whatever the information we are obtaining from the brainstem or spinal cord, which carries through this thalamus. Means this thalamus is the relay station. It is the press button, or it is the intermediate path which allows, which signals, which increase their speed of impulses. Thalamus contribute to the motor function by transmitting information from cerebellum and basal nuclei to the primary motor area of cerebral cortex. That area is responsible for the motor function, whatever motor function you are doing. So it carries that impulses and it gives that information from basal nuclei, from the cerebellum and from the spinal cord. So whatever the peripheral area you are getting that information, it carries toward that primary motor area, which is the area which is signaling the motor information. That's why for the various functions of our motor activity, you are walking, you are talking, you are doing body movements, it is available, it occurs, it make possible only due to this thalamus. And also we are having the function of consciousness, it is made possible due to this thalamus. If you will see this thalamus is having almost 13 nuclei, but the main 7 nuclei are available at each side of the thalamus. In that, first is anterior nucleus, second is medial nucleus, third is lateral nucleus, fourth is ventral nucleus. This ventral nucleus is also having 5 types. In that 5 types, first is ventral anterior nucleus, second ventral lateral nucleus, ventral posterior nucleus, lateral granuculate nucleus, and medial granuculate nucleus. And fifth nucleus is intralaminar nucleus, and sixth is midline nucleus, and seventh is reticular nucleus. Now we will discuss one by one. First is anterior nucleus, so which receives input from the hypothalamus and send out to the limbic system. As we know, limbic system is the area which is responsible for emotion, anxiety, and learning, memory, and cognition. So it functions to the emotion and memory. Now second, middle nuclei, which receives the input from limbic system. So first the impulses are coming from hypothalamus to the limbic system through anterior, and now it has been reached to the anterior. Now the second one, the middle nucleus, whatever the impulses which received up to limbic system, that transfer that from limbic system toward the basal nuclei and output to the cerebral cortex. Now their function is for emotions, learning, memory, and cognition, and thinking and knowing, and to identify the person, to have the perception of typical things. They are capturing the picture, they are memorize the personality, person, scene, anything. Now third is the lateral group. It receives input from the limbic system, superior colliculi, and the cerebral cortex, and they are transferring that information, that impulses, toward the cerebral cortex. Whereas the lateral dorsal nucleus, they are having 3 types: lateral dorsal nucleus, lateral posterior nucleus, and pulvinar nucleus. The lateral dorsal nucleus functions in the expressions of emotions. The lateral posterior nucleus and the pulvinar, pulvinar, pulvinar nucleus helps integrate sensory information. Now after this, fourth type, it is called ventral group. This ventral group contains 5 types of nuclei. Now out of them, first is ventral anterior nucleus, which receives input from basal nuclei and sent to the cerebral cortex, and it is responsible for the functions of movement, whatever movement we are doing, walking, talking. Now second is ventral lateral nucleus, which receives inputs from the cerebellum and basal nuclei and sends output to the motor areas of cerebral cortex. It also having role into the movement or contraction of your muscles. Now next is the ventral posterior nucleus. It relays impulses from somatic sensations such as touch, vibrations, tickle, pressure, temperature, proprioceptions. So these are the sensory motor senses which connects from these all over the periphery, from all the body parts toward the cerebral cortex. So it is having major function in motor sensory functions. Next is lateral geniculate nucleus. It is responsible for visual functions which connects the retina and the visual area of your cerebral cortex. Means whatever the impulses which are coming from the eye, from the retina, from the eyeball, they are through the optic nerve. So what they are doing, they are transferring, interpreting that information from that eye towards the cerebral cortex. The medial geniculate nucleus, it relays the auditory information through ear toward the auditory area of our cerebral cortex. It is the connective link between both the areas. Fifth one is intralaminar nuclei. This interlaminar nuclei is lie within the internal medullary lamina. As we know what is internal medullary lamina, it is a Y-shaped internal medullary lamina which is having the myelinated sheath. It contains white matter. It is the only area into thalamus which contains white matter. Remaining or all area, all the nuclei are having the grey matter. Mind it well. It makes the connection within the reticular formation, cerebellum, basal nuclei and the wide areas of cerebral cortex. So it is connecting all the areas. This intralaminar nuclei connects cerebellum, reticular formation, brainstem and cerebral cortex. So they function in the arousal. As there is a role of reticular formation, as we know, it is responsible for alertness and arousal. Whatever the awaking, we are waking up in the morning, it occurs only due to the area of reticular formation. So they are connecting all, so they are having major function of arousal and integration of sensory and motor information. Sixth one is the midline nucleus, which forms the thin band adjacent to the third ventricle and has a presumed function in the memory and olfaction. So this midline nucleus is having main function of olfaction. In early two nuclei we have discussed, they are having function in visual and auditory. Now this one having function in olfaction. It is another sensory organ connected by this nuclei of thalamus. Now seventh is reticular nucleus, which surround the lateral aspects of thalamus, which is next to the internal capsule, and this nucleus is having function of monitoring. As it is attached to all the nuclei, so it integrates the function of all the nuclei and they are doing their functionings of nuclei along with the thalamic nuclei. Now we will switch over to the next part of this diencephalon. It is called hypothalamus. This hypothalamus is also important in emotions and the various functions of our body, which is nothing but the connective link between the brain and pituitary gland. So hypothalamus is doing its function along with the pituitary gland. That's why it is important in the formation and release of various endocrinal hormones. It is responsible for functionings and formation of various hormones. That's why this part, hypothalamus part, is major. It is having a significant role into the formation of various hormones. This hypothalamus is the small part of diencephalon located inferior to the thalamus. Is composed of, here also it is composed of dozens of nuclei in 4 major regions. In thalamus there was 7 major regions, and here in hypothalamus there are 4 major nuclei, 4 major regions, and in that they are containing dozens of nuclei. Some are containing 3, some are containing 4, some are containing 2, like that. Now here we will discussing the first. It is the first area. It is called mammillary region. It is the nipple shaped region. It is adjacent to the midbrain. It is the most posterior part of the hypothalamus. It includes mammillary bodies and posterior hypothalamic nuclei. The mammillary bodies are too small, too round, pea-shaped. They are small, round, pea-shaped. A pair of it is look like the breast. It look like the mammary glands of female. So that's why it is called mammillary body. So these mammillary bodies are two small rounded projections that serve as a relay station for reflexes related to the sense of smell. They are required for olfaction, sense of smell. Now second is called as tuberal regions. Tuberal regions are widest part of the hypothalamus. Includes the dorsomedial nucleus. Now it contains the four nucleus: dorsomedial nucleus, ventromedial nucleus and arcuate nucleus, plus the stalk-like infundibulum which connects the pituitary gland to the hypothalamus. So this tuberal region contains the infundibulum, which is connection with the pituitary gland. The median eminence is slightly raised region that encircle the infundibulum. Now again, if we summarize these tuberal regions, it contains the more four nuclei. For example, dorsomedial nuclei, ventromedial nuclei and the arcuate nuclei. It contains three nuclei. Now next region is third region. It is called supraoptic region. This supraoptic region is prior to the optic chiasma. What is optic chiasma? Optic chiasma is the pair of optic nerves which produces the chiasma, means a pairing structure of that nerve. It is called optic chiasma. So that contains the paraventricular nucleus, supraoptic nucleus, anterior hypothalamic nucleus and the suprachiasmatic nucleus. So this supraoptic regions contains four nuclei. In that, first is paraventricular nucleus, second is supraoptic nucleus, third is anterior hypothalamic nucleus and fourth is suprachiasmatic nucleus. Write it down, or four nucleus. It can be asked in the examination. In MCQ also mostly it can be asked that the supraoptic region contains which nucleus. So write it down and mind it well, all the nucleus. The axons from the paraventricular and the supraoptic nuclei from the hypophyseal tract which extend through the infundibulum to the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, which is called neurohypophysis. So this area connects with the posterior pituitary gland, neurohypophysis. So it is involved in the functioning of posterior pituitary gland and as well as the functioning formation of the hormones which occurs in the posterior pituitary. Fourth is called preoptic regions. It is anterior to the supraoptic region, is usually considered part of hypothalamus because it participates with the hypothalamic in the regulating certain autonomic activities. The preoptic regions contains the medial and lateral preoptic nuclei. Means this preoptic regions contains two nuclei. One is medial and another is lateral preoptic nuclei. Now if you will see the functions of hypothalamus, it is having wide functions as it is responsible for formation of various hormones. So connected with the hormones, it is having several functions. So in that, first function is it control the ANS. It is controlling the autonomous nervous system. The hypothalamus control the integrates activities of autonomic nervous system, which regulate the contraction of smooth muscles like trachea or gut and also vascular smooth muscles and cardiac muscles, and the secretions of many glands. For example, secretion of ACL, secretion of the glands from the pancreas, secretion of from the liver. Axons extend from hypothalamus to the parasympathetic and sympathetic nuclei in the brainstem and spinal cord. Through the ANS, the hypothalamus is the major regulatory visceral activities, including regulation of heart rate. These hypothalamus is responsible for the maintenance of the heart rate, increase or decrease of heart rate, their of contraction of heart rate, impulse generation in heart rate, movement of blood through gastrointestinal tract, and contraction of urinary bladder. Now the second function of this hypothalamus is production of hormones. As it is connected with the pituitary gland, it is a connective link between the pituitary gland, between brain and the pituitary. So the hypothalamus produces several types of hormones and has two types of important connections with the pituitary gland and endocrine gland located inferior to the hypothalamus. First, the hypothalamic hormones known as releasing hormone and the inhibitory hormone. So it is having the two types of hormones because the hormonal level should be controlled, regulated, maintained. So for that, if hormone is decreased, scarcity occurs in that releasing hormone is there. If it is over, if you want to stop their release, it is inhibitory hormone. So in that, two types of hormones are there. The cell bodies of these neurons make one of two hormones, in that oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone, which occurs into the posterior pituitary. The axons transport the hormones to the posterior pituitary where they release, whereas the hormones which can be released from the anterior pituitary, they are several types of hormones. The first is growth hormone, second is the thyroid stimulating hormone, third is melanocyte stimulating hormone, fourth is luteinizing hormone, fifth is follicle stimulating hormone, sixth is the prolactin, and the seventh is the melanocyte stimulating hormone. So like this, there are 7 types of, and insulin also comes under the category of growth hormone. So this hypothalamus is controlling the secretions of these anterior as well as posterior pituitary. The gonadotropin releasing hormone is releasing the LH and FSH, and gonadotropin inhibitory hormone, they are decreasing or stopping the release of LH and FSH. Listen, from the hypothalamus there are several hormones which are controlling the secretions of pituitary gland. So they are called releasing hormone. For example, gonadotropin releasing hormone, so which controls the secretion of pituitary gland hormone, which is called LH and FSH. Suppose growth hormone releasing hormone, which secretes from the hypothalamus, and they control the secretions of pituitary, anterior pituitary, which secrete the growth hormone. So the hormones which are secreting from the hypothalamus, they are different, but they are connected with the pituitary, and the hormone which is secreting from the pituitary gland, they are different, but they are connected. They are interdependent hormones. Now the next function is regulation of emotional and behavioral patterns. Together with the limbic system, as we know, limbic system is responsible for emotions, anxiety, and learning memory, because it is the area which is responsible for storing of short-term memory also. The hypothalamus participates in the expression of rage, aggression, pain, and pleasure, and behavioral patterns related to the sexual arousal also. Regulation of eating and drinking. The hypothalamus regulates food intake. It contains the feeding center. Whatever the feeding or the feeling of hungerness it's produced, it's only produced due to this feeding center is going to be activated. And eating and satiety center, which causes the sensation of fullness and the sensation of eating. So this another center of satiety center, it is responsible for fullness, means now your stomach is completely filled with the food, so no need to take any items, no need to take any meal or any food items, so which causes the sensation of fullness. The hypothalamus also contains a third center which give arousal for thirst. Now I am feeling thirsty, so you will drink something. So it is also center which can be governed by this hypothalamus. Next is control of body temperature. The hypothalamus also functions as a body's thermostat. What is thermostat? Thermostat is the apparatus which maintaining your body temperature. Means it won't allow to increase and not allow to decrease the temperature. It is called thermostat. So thermostat is going to be set in your hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the only part of brain which is responsible for development of fever, because our thermostat is set by plus 2 degree or 3 degree or 1 degree. Suppose your body temperature is 39 degree, means plus 2 degree. Thermostat has been set to the 39 degree Celsius or 40 degree Celsius. Means our body is trying to maintain the temperature at 40 degree Celsius, and it is nothing but the fever condition. So thermostat plays a major role for maintaining of your body temperature. If the temperature of blood flow through the hypothalamus is above normal, the hypothalamus directs the autonomic nervous system to stimulate activities that promote heat loss. When the blood temperature is below normal, by contrast, the hypothalamus generates the impulses that promote heat production and retention. In this fashion, the hypothalamus tries to maintain the temperature, whatever may be the external atmospheric temperature, atmosphere or environmental conditions are there, but body is trying to maintain its internal temperature. Internal thermostat can be set by this hypothalamus. That's why the hypothalamus is having major role into the homeostasis for maintenance of internal environment. Control of body temperature. The hypothalamus, as we already discussed, having major role in the body's thermostat. Now mind it well, in case of some hormonal release, the thermostat can be set in slightly above or decrease. For example, in case of the females who are pregnant, thermostat can be set plus 0.5 degree, means their temperature will be elevated by the plus 0.5 degree Celsius. Now next function is for regulation of circadian rhythm, CIRCADIAN, circadian rhythm, and states of consciousness. The suprachiasmatic nucleus of hypothalamus serves as a body's internal biological clock because it establishes circadian rhythm. What is circadian rhythm? It is the rhythm of 12 hours day and 12 hours night. It is 24 hours system. So as we know, we are waking up in the morning at 6 o'clock due to the circadian rhythm. We are having hunger of breakfast at 9 o'clock, circadian rhythm. We are having feeling of lunch, to have a lunch at 1 o'clock, circadian rhythm. So whatever feeling of anything according to the time, according to the climate, we are sleeping at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock, it occurs due to the circadian rhythm. Whatever habits you have developed into your brain and stored into the brain, it occurs only due to this circadian rhythm. So it is a pattern of biological activities that when you wake up and occurs on the circadian schedule. The schedule has been fixed into your brain. This nucleus receives inputs from the eyes and send out to the hypothalamic nuclei and reticular formation and pineal gland. Now next important part of your diencephalon is called epithalamus. So as various canal nerves are also responsible into this. So first, again we will summarize what is hypothalamus. It is a main visceral control. Its autonomous nervous system can be controlled emotional responses like pleasure, sex drive, body temperature, hunger, thirst sensation, some behaviors, regulations of sleep-wake centers. Now this regulation of sleep-wake centers can be accompanied by the reticular activating system. The part into the midbrain, it is called reticular formation, which is accompanied by this hypothalamus. and it is also called as a RAS system, reticular activity system, RAS. So which controls the arousal into the morning awaking consciousness can be controlled by this system. And control of endocrine system that we already discussed. As we are seeing here, the hormones which can be released from the hypothalamus, they are called releasing hormone. For example, gonadotropin releasing hormone can be released in the hypothalamus. After that, the respective hormone, for example LH and FSH, can be secreted from the anterior pituitary, and likewise from the organs. In case of males, they will secrete the testosterone, and in case of female, they will secrete the estrogen and progesterone. Likewise here also, for example, from the hypothalamus there is the release of the adrenocorticotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, and adrenocortic here the ACTH, adrenocortical releasing hormone, can be secreted from the our anterior pituitary, and the adrenal gland, which is superior to the kidney, which is just above to the kidney, it is just like cap. So from this adrenal cortex, the cortisol or adrenocorticoid hormone can be released from this adrenal cortex. So glucocorticoid, mineralocorticoid and cortisol, these are the three hormones can be released from this adrenal cortex, and they will show their actions. So in this fashion, the hormonal release and their functions occur. For example, now next here we will see this is thyroid gland. Okay, so thyrotropin releasing hormone can be secreted from this hypothalamus, and from the pituitary gland thyroid stimulating hormone can be secreted from pituitary gland, and here the two hormones are there, thyroxine and triiodothyronine. It is also called as T3, and thyroxine is called as T4. So these two hormones can be secreted from this thyroid gland, and likewise they are doing their functions. So in these functions, the hypothalamus is having great role into our body, especially by connecting with the pituitary gland by the glands or the endocrine glands which are releasing various hormones. What is hormone? Hormone is nothing but the proteinous substance. It is proteinous substance which release from the various glands, and hormones can be transported through the blood from one place to the another place, and hormone is the only element which release at one point and it can be secrete at the another point. So in this fashion, the hormonal expression we have discussed. Now the next and the important third point of this diencephalon that we will discuss here, it is called hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is the third and the most dorsal part of the diencephalon. So it is a part of roof of the 1/3 ventricles. As we have discussed in the diencephalon, in diencephalon thalamus is having the 80% mass, 80% portion of total diencephalon. And if you see this hypothalamus, it is a very smallest part of this diencephalon. This hypothalamus is a small and superior and posterior to the thalamus. It consists of pineal gland and the habenular nuclei, HABENULAR, habenular nuclei. The pineal gland is about size of small p. It is P-shaped, very small in shape, round P-shaped, and protrude from the posterior midline of the third ventricle. The pineal gland is the part of endocrine system because it secretes the hormone melatonin. And what is melatonin? Melatonin is the hormone which is responsible for our sleep. It induces sleep. At daytime also, if pineal gland will secrete the hormone melatonin, that melatonin hormone is responsible for inducing sleep. Listen, please don't confuse between melanin and melatonin. Mind well, the diencephalon which having the part epithalamus, that epithalamus is secreting the melatonin, and the anterior pituitary is secreting the hormone melanin, melanocyte stimulating hormone, and the melanin is responsible for our fairness. Melanin is the pigment which increases our darkness of our skin. Understood? So don't confuse between two concepts, two words, 2 points. This is the melatonin and it is melanin. So the epithalamus is secreting the hormone melatonin. As the more melatonin is liberating during the darkness than the light, the hormone is appear to contribute to the setting of body's biological clock by inducing sleep and helping the body to adjust the jet lag. The habenular nuclei, HABENULAR, habenular nuclei are involved in the olfaction. Whatever the smell we are identify, we are signaling. So because that smell already stored into our brain, into the cortex, cerebral cortex area, so it is not into the olfaction, and especially emotional responses to the odor such as love one, colloque, as there is the various ads, they are just flashing on the television screen that due to this cologne or due to this deodorant the females are attracting towards you or the males are attracting towards you. So more or less it is true, because they are the pheromones which are coming from our body, so the odor is there, so it can be signalized by the various nuclei. The habenular nuclei is responsible for identification and signaling and their approach towards the that smell is responsible for development of the love, means we are having pleasuring sensation for several cologne, several deos or several smell. Some smell we don't like, we just hate some smell, so that can be developed due to this habenular nuclei which are available into the epithalamus. Now this pineal gland is the body produces melatonin. So this much information we have contributed into this diencephalon. So this much part is we have to study it. And the last part which we should know, very shortly we discuss, it is called circumventricular organ. It is a part of diencephalon. That circumventricular organ, because they lie in the walls of the third ventricle. This circumventricular organ lies in the part of third ventricle and can monitor chemical changes in the blood, because they lack a blood-brain barrier. So this includes a part of the hypothalamus, the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, and a few other nearby structures. Functionally, this region coordinate homeostatic activities of endocrine and nervous system, such as regulation of blood pressure, fluid balance, hunger and thirst. So my friends, in this fashion we have completed today's session of diencephalon. See you then, bye.